Hey there, public speaking. Hope you're having a fantastic day today. I'm checking in because today we're focusing on the personal experience speech presentation, and I am going to do a sample personal experience speech presentation for you today with a visual aid. I want to remind you that this speech is an extemporaneous speech where you use note cards and you know it very well overall, so you're not looking at those note cards very often, that you're actually making eye contact with the audience for the most part. And you're also including a visual aid. The visual aid will help you better tell the story. It'll bring that story to life. So today, I am going to do a personal experience speech presentation. And yes, this is a real truth. And yes, that is my little sister, Ms. Buckley, also known as Ms. Harrods, who teaches over at Southview. And yes, I did have a mullet in high school. All right, with that, let's get started. Straight A student, 4.0 GPA, failing terribly, skipping school, getting into fights. Now, neither of these two descriptions really describes the type of student I was. I was a really good student who got A's and B's and usually was respectful and responsible. And as a result, I was selected to be the student of the month for the Rotary Club. Such an honor allowed me to go to a luncheon where I got a free lunch, which I was really, really excited about. But little did I know what was in store for me that April day in 1990 in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It all started when I went down to the principal's office. Mr. Bowman was supposed to take me to the luncheon. So I checked in with the secretary and I sat down and I waited and I waited and I waited. Finally, I asked the secretary if Mr. Bowman was ready to go. She went back to his office and came back with a shocked look on her face. Mr. Bowman had already left without me. So there I was, stranded at North High School, already late for this luncheon. But have no fear, I had my own form of transportation, my own car, 1979 two-tone green Monte Carlo. It was my grandma's car given to me. My friends, they called it the Buckmobile. My parents, they called it the Green Slime. Anyway, I hopped in the Buckmobile and I took off. Got on the highway, and then it happened. My car died. Not because of a mechanical failure, but because I had simply run out of gas. There I was, stuck on the side of the road, already late for the luncheon. I had a little bit of luck. My dad happened to be driving by, couldn't miss the green slime, pulled over, found out what was going on, traded cars with me, said he'd get some gas in my car, and I should go get to the luncheon. So I took off as fast as I could, got to the luncheon, and I arrived 45 minutes late. To make matters worse, Mr. Bowman didn't even bother to tell the leaders why I was late. So it looked kind of like I was this kid who just really didn't care about the luncheon at all, rather than the fact that I had waited responsibly, but my principal forgot me. Anyway, afterwards, I headed back home. On my way back, I decided to stop and cars with my dad so I could have my car back before I got back to school. I needed to get back to school quickly because I had tennis practice afterwards and I didn't want to be late. So I headed back to school, but first I stopped at the gas station because he had only used a small emergency to fill up. And I did not want to run out of gas again. If there was one thing I learned from this experience, it was that I was never, ever going to run out of gas again. So I filled up the tank and I topped it off twice because I was making sure there was no way I was running out of gas. Then I closed the tank and I took off and I headed back to school as quick as I could. Got back just a few minutes before the end of the day. The bell rang and I was headed out to the tennis practice when on the loudspeaker I was called down to the office. Finally, Mr. Bowman was going to give me an apology. When I got down there, I found out Mr. Bowman didn't have an apology for me. In fact, I had been called down to the office because I had a phone call from the police. I had been accused of stealing gas. You see, because I was so caught up in everything and I was so fixated on getting back to school and kind of rattled from what had happened with the luncheon and making sure I had enough gas to never ever run out of gas again, I forgot to pay for my gas. So I had to head back to the gas station and explain to the manager about what happened. I told the manager about my day, and fortunately, she found a lot of humor in it. I paid for my gas, and then I went back to tennis practice. Now that day did not go as planned for sure. Things were really, really crazy, and I forgot to do important things. And this experience taught me something. It taught me that when things start getting kind of crazy and going really quickly, I sometimes forget to focus on what's really important and what I need to take care of. And I learned that when things are nuts, I just have to slow down and try to make sure to remember the important things and enjoy life. Now, some people, they say, stop and smell the roses. But whenever my life gets really, really crazy, I just think to myself, stop and you better pay for the gas. All right, so there is my speech. So you can see I told that speech. Did I know it well? Absolutely, I knew it well. I knew it really well. Was I able to use some different inflection in my tone, some good voice energy and vocal variety? Certainly. Was my eye contact good? Should have been. Did my experience have a lot of details? Was it easy to follow along? Yes. Was there a message or a moral to the story? Absolutely. Did I have an effective attention getter? Yes. Good student, bad student. I'm not really either of them. But then I went into my introduction, right? Did I have a transition? A transition into my story? I did. Little did I know what was in store for me that April day in 1990. And did I have a lesson? Yes, I talked about slowing down, remembering the important things, enjoying life. And then did I have a separate final concluding statement? I did. I said, some people say stop and smell the roses, but whenever life gets crazy for me, I just think to myself, stop and you better pay the gas. So those are all the elements that went in there. And then I also had the visual aid that had bullet points on there, bullet points to help my audience follow along, and pictures to really bring my story to life. Okay, so that is what I'm looking for from you. And I want to remind you that if you have any questions, if I can help you at all, if you're wondering about something, check in with me. I'm here to support you. I'm here to give you examples, but I'm also, if you want to visit with me, if I can help support you, I want to do that. Okay. And just remember, I one day, one at one time, I actually did have lots of hair. All right. All right. One, two, three. Yup. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Go pack. Boom, boom.